Thank you for the opportunity to address you on this important issue today. My name is Garrett Ian. I traveled here from Keene, New Hampshire. I grew up here in Concord, where I've spent the greater portion of my young life, and where I started the blog freeconcord.org, where I continue to publish content. While personally I may find myself partial to identifying as an activist, we all know how limiting labels can be. Not wishing to limit myself, I think it's important to recognize the numerous qualities different styles of activism can take on. Any individual who captures a piece of raw video or audio content in public has committed an act of journalism. The circumstances of the capture only add to or subtract from its relevance, but they make something that is truly a contribution to society. Sometimes these records can change society. Let's consider the Rodney King beating or the Kelly Thomas killing that happened recently. The fact that there is documentation of what actually happened that the actors in the case were not aware of means that we're better able to know what crimes are happening in our society and happening in our names too. When we think of New Hampshire's current confusing statute, let us consider who benefits from how it is manipulated by those in power. It seems that everyone here is confused by it as well. The police are far from being experts on the law. I've lost count of how many police I've had to correct on this law. It got to a point where after I had a phone unlawfully wrenched out of my hand while I was recording in public, that I printed out these little cards with the wiretapping statute on them, so I could read them to officers whenever they got it wrong. I've had to pull out this card way too many times. I wish I could say the phone confiscation was the only incident. It was 3 years ago where I've had experience with police acting unlawfully under the guise of this statute, but unfortunately it's not. I've had friends serve months in jail for recording phone conversations while they were doing journalistic reports. You've all heard of what happened to Joe Hamill. I wish to invite you to search out his story, check out the Concord Monitor article, and see how horrible it is what happened to him. He was victimized to the extent that he felt he had to leave town. And this was for overtly recording a Concord bureaucrat. It's not even illegal under the current law. It's been brought up about Robin Hooding in Keene. I was very disappointed with Ms. Rice, who mischaracterized Robin Hooding in Keene. And Representative Robertson, I'd also invite you to come Robin Hooding with us if you think that we yell at parking enforcers or we get within 2 feet of them or anything like that. That's nonsense. The court agreed that we stay within the rights and under the boundaries of the law. So yeah, I'd invite people to come out Robin Hooding if they think that anything unruly is going on. But unfortunately, as many of you know, myself and my friends were sued by the city of Keene for our activities of filling meters. We weren't sued for filling the meters and denying the city of revenue. We were sued in the name of contractual interference. The alleged contractual interference was that we were trying to get parking enforcers to quit their jobs. I never said I wanted parking enforcers to quit their jobs. I was just out filling meters, having conversations. But somehow my name got dragged into that lawsuit too. So I wanted to have a meeting with the city attorney prior to this case going to court. So back in May, I met with City Attorney Tom Mullins, and he said he would meet with me to discuss the case as long as it wasn't audio recorded, but that it was allowed to be on the record and I could take notes. So I met with him, I took extensive notes, and then I created a mock-up transcript of our meeting. A few weeks later, I'm about to go out to go Robin Hooding one morning. My friends and my roommates are on the porch, and we notice that there's an unmarked state police car that's circling the block, not being very conspicuous. I snapped some photos of this car, and it drives off after seeing me. So then I headed downtown. When I got about a block away from my house, the car was waiting to ambush me, and did. 2 state troopers in plainclothes got out of the car, never said my name, but ordered me to stop and said that they had a warrant for me, that they were seizing all of my electronic devices. Fortunately, all I had on me at the time was my beloved Canon Vixia. This was confiscated and spent 2 months in police custody. When it was returned to me, I noticed there was some vandalism. They'd written in Sharpie underneath it. There was never any evidence of a crime. In fact, I wasn't even allowed to know why it was that my camera was taken for about a month and a half, because the warrant was sealed. Why was the warrant sealed? Was this a case in which there were confidential informants that maybe whose identities needed protected? Absolutely not. In fact, the warrant didn't really have anything that constituted probable cause in it. The only reason my camera and my electronic devices were taken from me, well, only one device ended up getting confiscated, but the only reason was that the city attorney alleged that I must have remembered too much of the conversation. I don't know about you guys, but I have a background in criminal justice. I went to school for criminology, and that doesn't sound like probable cause to me. Your account of an interaction looks too accurate, so we're going to seize your electronics. They found no evidence that there was any illegal recording. And needless to say, I'm following up with an attorney on that. The Robin Hooding case has been brought up, and the idea of some of the other speakers, Ms. Rice, the last gentleman, they began to conflate audio recording with assault. They began to say, well, if we allow people to audio record, they're just going to get up in people's faces. They're just going to stick cameras in people's cars. It'll be chaos. Assault is still illegal. Holding things in front of someone's face is still a form of assault or threatening. You're not supposed to behave in that manner, so the idea that people who do use these journalistic tools would somehow become criminals if they had more freedoms to use the tools, that's ludicrous. So, in addition to Robin Hooding, one of the activities I engage in that involves a lot of videotaping, I also participated in the 2013 Police Accountability Tour with my good friend Pete Eyre. We traveled around the country and went to different places where there were instances of police abuse and tried to follow up on those stories. Unfortunately, there's a major chilling effect here in New Hampshire. You can't covertly record in many places. Now, taking into account that in police stations they have signs up on the walls that say you're being audio and video recorded, you don't have to inform anyone if you're recording there, it's understood. But all it took was myself and my friend Pete walking into a police station in New Orleans, and a press release went out by the police there saying that there are these people in town, they record police, be careful. Now the thing is, New Orleans and Louisiana have some of the most corrupt authorities probably in the world. We were investigating stories where the police were killing people, disposing of bodies, having people, their superiors covering up.
The bill, please.
Okay, sure. It was kind of scary reporting on those incidents of people that kill people, yet I felt safe knowing that I couldn't be bothered for recording because Louisiana is a single-party consent state. It's not illegal to record other people there. And considering the amount of corruption, it's so important there that people are able to record their interactions with others. This two-party recording being labeled wiretapping, it's a misapplication of the word. Wiretapping implies that there is some sort of like going into someone's electronics, hacking, etc. The idea that you can record just walking around and that's wiretapping, where's the wire involved? Another reason this law is absurd is it's archaic, it's misguided, because anybody can unintentionally violate it. Anybody that has a camera, a video, still photo, you're going to accidentally shoot some video, record some audio that you didn't mean to record, and then you'll notice and probably just delete it. There's a saying, the camera is the new gun. If you accidentally discharge a firearm, it's a big deal. If you accidentally discharge a camera, it's not. It's perfectly safe. So that's why getting to my conclusion. There's this item is more threatening to the corrupt officials or just corrupt individuals, criminals, than a firearm or any other combat weapon. This tool can get you thrown in prison in New Hampshire, yet it's able to expose the crimes of other people in a way that nothing else can. If I'm able to see something, if I'm able to hear it, it is my human right to document it. Unfortunately, my eyes can't record and my ears can't record, but human beings have worked, and now we have the technology and the tools. Let us use them. So another revelation that's come up in the past year. We're all being spied on. We're all being wiretapped all the time. We now know this. We didn't know this a year ago, but it's been released thanks to a brave man named Edward Snowden. The state that claims to protect us, the empire in DC, is violating New Hampshire law, presumably, but I don't really mind that because I don't think the law is legitimate. However, it is important to recognize that if something can be recorded, we should understand that it could be recorded, which means I want to be able to record it as well. I can under the current law. Please do the right thing and recognize that this bill is weak but well-intended, and that New Hampshire should move in the direction of one-party consent. That is in the interest of promoting journalistic freedom. And think of, you can't do certain journalistic reports in New Hampshire. You can't do a report going into a place that maybe is doing bad business deals and record what they're doing because it's illegal. It's illegal to do journalism. If for some reason you aren't interested in legalizing recording for residents of New Hampshire, I would invite you to please send a public message to the powers in the District of Columbia that you no longer require their services. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Is your job an investigator from what you were telling me of your testimony?
Sure, I've played that capacity before.
No, I mean, are you a registered investigator that somebody was.
I've never been paid for investigations, no.
And you're registered.
Representative Valencourt.
I like to think we all are investigators. We've heard it said that the pen is mightier than the sword. I think we have a new device that's mightier than the sword that we have to know about. But I'm really interested in what you commented about the police following you in Keene and claiming you had too good a memory. So
Yes.
apparently, even mightier than the sword or the camera is somebody with a photographic memory. So I guess President Woodrow Wilson and Richard Nixon would have been in big trouble because they had a pretty good memory. What happened what was the final upshot of them stopping you for doing what you described seems like something that was not illegal?
Well, they were investigating to see whether or not I had possibly wiretapped that meeting, which I don't understand whether or not it would have even been illegal to record it, but they have no evidence that it was recorded. They seized my camera with the intention of finding such evidence, but such evidence does not exist.
Is it, if I may follow, is it your contention that you would not have had this problem if this law had been in effect?
It's possible I still would have had that problem because I think this bill says something about overtly recording. I think covertly recording needs to be protected as well. It's important that people are able to make objective records of their interactions with others.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you very much. I will call Laura Haney.
Good afternoon. My name is Laura Haney, and I represent American Federation of Teachers in New Hampshire. We don't just represent teachers, but we represent police officers over in Keene and the public employees over in Keene. We are opposed to this bill. We represented those parking attendants over in Keene. I believe them when they said that they felt physically threatened. And I also believe that this bill is just a tool for certain people to go out and do more damage to our public employees. We need to have our public employees need to have a voice. The unintended consequences to this, I can see teachers or public officials, they're paid by the tax dollars. Does this mean that these people are going to show up at our schools and start videotaping the teachers and the school children? I think it's just an overreach. I think it's unneeded. The case over in Keene is going up to the next court. Those people, and I agree with the attorney Wright saying that you have to define that physical force. It's not just touching them. These people, the parking attendants who go to the bathroom, they'd be followed. There was also a time that there was some stuff done outside the police officers' homes in Keene as well. This is wrong. Someone has to stand up and have a voice for that public employee who's out there doing their job and trying to do it well. And they need some protection from people that go overboard. And I think this bill will let them go overboard on their actions. So I ask that you IPL this bill.
Representative Valencourt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If, as Attorney Rice has suggested, she could work on language that would address some of your concerns, we don't want anybody being followed in the bathrooms or things like that, would you then support this bill or a similar bill?
I would have to talk to my members from Keene to see if that's something that they would want.
Any other questions? Thank you very much. I'll call Ivan Friedman. I'm sorry.